It's not just a card. It's a way of life. It's access to a world of more. It's not just for dreamers. It's for achievers. Introducing the new UBA Platinum MasterCard, a premium card for those who want more out of life. The UBA Platinum MasterCard offers you an amazing array of perks such as up to 15% off your Avis car rental, exclusive benefits at top hotels, airlines and destinations. Visit a UBA branch near you and request your UBA Platinum MasterCard. UBA, Africa's global bank.
Good morning once again, and welcome to another edition of the UBA Ghana Business Series. Today we're going to be talking about maximizing your biggest assets. Now, for any business, what's your biggest asset? What are the things that you need to make you profitable or to make your business venture exciting? And we have a resource person this morning who's going to help us to digest the issue. We're going to look at people and their behaviors, obviously, human resource, which is your biggest asset, and to evaluate how we're going to be able to harness the potential of our human resource to ensure that we get the best of our business. Joining us this morning is Dr. Pamela Nkyi, who is the Director of Pensai Psychological Services, and she is going to be talking to us on the topic maximizing your biggest assets as a business. Pamela, you're welcome.
Good morning, and thank you, Mr. Dotte, for your very kind introduction. I am very excited to be here this morning, and I'm excited because it's not often that micro, small, medium enterprises have the opportunity to have a resource like this. Many businesses do not have the funds to hire a HR consultant or a psychologist, which I am, to support them in the setup and the foundation stage of their business, or to address when issues arise. So I'm excited to be here because you have me for an hour. I will present my rationale as to why you need to invest and you need to explore why your people and your behaviors are critical to your business model and to your business delivery. You have me for an hour. Maximize me as a person that could potentially support your delivery. So I will thank you for joining, and I thank UBA for allowing me to have this time with you this morning. We know everybody's busy. We know that the global pandemic has meant that a lot of businesses are under pressure. So, you know, even more so now, it's critical that you address your people and behaviors. So if you will allow me, I will share my screen. I will present to you my business case as to why I feel that we need to address people and behaviors. Okay, so I will share my slides with you, and along the way, if you have questions, if you would like me to clarify anything, please do use the chat function, and there are people in the background who will go through those questions and put that question to me at the appropriate time. Okay, so my name is Dr. Pamela Nkyi. All those letters tells you that I have been trained, I have experience, I know what I'm doing. I have been a practicing psychologist for 17 years. I am registered with the British Psychological Society as a chartered psychologist. I have been doing some work with local government, with the London Mayor's Office, looking at mental health. And one of my biggest joys is working with people to go through change, whether that's individual people or whether it's an organization to go through change. So, what do I mean by maximizing your assets? So as a psychological service, with my expertise in behavioral change, I support people to identify what the issues are and then to develop an effective plan to address it. So that's just this, what you're seeing on the screen is just a bit of a background of what I offer as a service. And the next slide talks about what I offer to organizations and individuals. And again, my key skill here is how to support people through change. That could be the smallest change to a life encompassing change, whether it's health, whether it's organizational development, and I use the psychological background to do that. Now, putting this into context, many of you would be from a micro, small, medium enterprise. And I want to highlight to you as a business how critical you are to economy. The micro, small, medium enterprises constitute 90% of businesses. So think about that in terms of how many people are employed globally. What you do day to day is a lifeline for many people, not just your customers, but also the people associated with your business. There is absolutely no way a country can run without the MSMEs. They provide critical support to government in terms of job creation. They provide assets financially in terms of the GDP, and it constitutes 7 out of 10 jobs. So this is a huge market. Now, PwC in Nigeria did a survey last year. They published it last year, but pre-COVID, and they wanted to explore what the big challenges are to MSMEs, and just to demonstrate that this 90% is not just limited to, say, the African continent. So if you look at where I have circled here, MSMEs contribute to a significant proportion of employment in countries across the world. In, say, Nigeria, it constitutes 84% of all employments, and say UK, just over half of all employers are within the MSME sector. So you can tell already that there's people involved in businesses, not just, you might just see your business employing maybe 10, 5, 1, 200, 1,000, but in the biggest grand scheme of things, this sector is one of the biggest employers in the market. And one of the questions that was asked by business owners is, what are the key problems affecting your business delivery? Now, I'm not going to talk about the obtaining finance part. I will leave it to the professionals, that is UBA, to do that. So if you're not with UBA, do get involved. They've put together this business series to support you. If you're not a customer, get involved. So apart from all of these factors, obtaining finance, finding customers, unskilled workforce only came up as 7%, but I'm going to demonstrate that actually that's an undersight somewhere. When they were asked what their biggest expenditure is, employee cost came up as 4th. Now, if you look at the margin, this is, again, this is UBA bank, which understands numbers, so I won't go too much into it. If you have an issue, see your business advisor at UBA. So we've got 21% as the electricity power as the biggest cost. But if you look at here, employee cost, that's 14% of a business's cost is going towards employees. And I say employee cost is the 4th biggest, but if you look at the margin between the biggest to the 4th, it's only 7%. So I class employee cost as quite significant. The next one up is cost of capital and rent. The difference is not so great. So we know that employees cost businesses a lot. But the question really is, why do employees cost businesses? They cost businesses in the obvious sense in terms of salaries and wages. But what I'm going to talk to you about this morning is not talking about the business, the business delivery of providing salaries and wages. I'm going to talk about behaviors that directly affects a business's bottom line.
What do I do? Yes, thanks for that those words. And I mean, the sentences you've given us this morning are very revealing. And before we continue, I'd like to ask all our audience joining us today to drop in your questions, drop in your comments in the chat section as was previously announced, and we will take your questions and pass them to Pamela so she can address your issues for you. The issue of employment is big, and you've just seen that. If you have questions, you have comments, please drop them in the chat box, and we'll put them to Dr. Pamela Nkyi to respond to them. Pamela, yes, please, you have the floor. Continue.
Thank you, Mr. Doty. So you may have received this code, and if you've had a chance to, great. If you haven't, perfectly fine. Please do stay on the webinar. So I had asked a question in advance: what behaviors affect the success of businesses? If you've had a chance to respond, great. If you haven't, again, don't worry too much about it. But I'm going to share something with you, and please do have an open mind here. And I'm hoping that as I speak, suddenly you think, oh, I see. I want the aha and I see moments. And if the aha and I see moments then causes you to question what's happening in your business, that's fantastic, because it means that you've identified the issue. The next step would then be, how do you then put the mechanisms in place to address it? And I'll come to that also. Okay, so these are what are the employee behaviors. Often businesses will look at their productivity. Are we delivering the service enough? Are we delivering the goods? What is the quality of our goods? But I am going to convince you, in case you're not convinced already, the bigger impacts that these have on your bottom line. And I've put on here in bold, underlined, that negative employee behaviors cost business money. And I will give you an example using absenteeism and presenteeism. Presenteeism is something that is not often discussed, but I'll come to that. Turnover, the more staff are going in and out, that costs your business. If somebody leaves, you have to find time to recruit. Recruitment costs money and time. If somebody leaves the organization, the work that they would have done is no longer being done. That is a potential cost on your productivity. There's a gap in your delivery. That's going to cost you money. Organizational citizenship behavior. People have got job description. I hope people in your organization have got a job description that is reviewed. But the people who go beyond the call of duty can actually impact positively on your brand, and they can also affect your brand. So if you do not manage that behavior, some people will come, do their job and leave. They're not contributing to that organizational culture. That can cost you money. Job satisfaction, if people, evidence is there. If people are satisfied in their jobs, they're more likely to do a better job for you. They're more likely to stay in the job much longer. And also, they are ambassadors for your brand. If people are unhappy, disgruntled, they send that message out there, and people do talk. If you ask for customer service and customer review, often you get people who are happy about your service, telling you what a great job it is. But sometimes the damaging messages do not come to you, they go to your potential customers. So you need to look at how you support your employees to have a sense of satisfaction in the job they're doing. It doesn't mean that you're you're giving them everything you want. You can't pay them beyond what your purse allows, but you've got to then create a culture where it induces people's sense of satisfaction, so they'll do a good job for you. There's also workplace misbehaviors, and again, I'm going to come to those shortly. But let me present to you the cost of employee absenteeism. So, I am a customer, just like all of you listening. You are a customer in many businesses. You will go to your health practitioner. You will go to an education institution. You go and buy your bread, eggs, milk, whatever food you have in the morning. You will go and get it from somewhere. You are more likely to go somewhere where you know that when they say they are opening at 9 a.m., when you get there at 9 a.m., they are opening. Unfortunately, some businesses will advertise that we open at 9, you get there 9:30, they're not quite open. 9:45, staff are dripping in and out, and then the staff will start to, brush their hair or will start to have their breakfast, and you are standing there waiting to be served. When we talk about absenteeism, often we talk about people not turning up to work or sickness absences, but absenteeism also refers to people not being physically there to actually do the job they're supposed to. So unfortunately, I have an experience where I have been in a part of Africa and trying to plan a meeting, and naively, I tried to plan a meeting on a Friday. I was laughed at. They said, "Oh, madam, no one plans meetings here on Friday. No one will come." Friday is a working day. But for some reason, the culture has allowed that people will travel back to their hometown for funerals, for weddings, for all sorts of events, which means you are losing valuable business time. So when we talk about absenteeism, we're not just talking about the bog standard sickness absences. We're talking about behaviors that means that your staff are not where they should be, when they should be to deliver your business objective. So I put a figure here that I found in the literature, and sickness absence alone cost the UK economy £18 billion, and that was in 2018. That is estimated to increase to, I think, 20 or 30 million in the next 5 years or so. And if that's what's costing the UK economy, Africa cannot afford to lose that economy if their staff are absent due to sickness or are absent due to other absenteeism behaviors. Lateness, traveling to your hometown for funeral because your mother's cousins, sisters, aunties, godparents, godchild is having their wedding. So you have to leave on the Thursday so that you can arrive by Friday. You've lost 2 days of business production. So you need to address absenteeism. And on top of the actual not being there to deliver the job, there are on costs when employees continually are absent. It sends a message to the rest of the team that people can do whatever they like. They turn up when they want. That affects the engagement of staff. It also breeds frustration between management and employees. It also creates a culture in the organization that tells employees that there might be one rule for one person and another rule for somebody else. Susie can go to her father's, uncle's, sister's, cousin, goat herder's baby's christening, but why can't Amma go to her law degrees, alumni's evening and leave early because she has to go and do her hair? So you need to address these behaviors, and I'll come to that later. All of this affects your brand reputation. If staff are not there, customers are waiting longer to be served. Products are taking longer to be produced. So we need to manage all of this. So how do we manage that? And I've put here, creating the right business culture is key. If you're waiting to employ people, then create a culture, you've missed the mark. You create the culture before your people arrive. You need to ensure that as a leader of your business, you lead by example. Don't turn up late for your meeting and expect respect from your staff. If you have an issue with arriving to meetings on time, your staff will learn to understand that this boss is not coming. If the meeting is at 10, they will drip in at 10, 10:30, 11 o'clock because we know you're not coming. It does not show respect for you as a leader. It does not show respect for the job that you are trying to create. So you need to address yourself as the leader of the business, and what you put across is what's going to be carried right through. So as a leader, you put the mechanisms in place way before your employees start work. You ensure that you create the work culture that will get the maximum benefits for your business objective. Job responsibilities and descriptions are creative, but also they allow staff to grow. People will leave your business if they feel there are no growing opportunities, if they are stale and stagnant. They will say, I've been in this job for 10 years, for 20 years, I've gone nowhere. People will go where they feel they are valued and they are being nurtured. The way we communicate with our staff is also quite important. We're not creating dictatorship here. You're employing adults, they understand your brand, they've applied for the job, they're getting paid, but you need them to deliver your objectives. And you need to also understand that a person's family, personal life, relationships at work is going to affect your productivity. You can't pretend it's not there. It will affect, because people take themselves to a job place. They don't leave themselves at home and then come to work, become uber professional, and then go home. They bring all their issues. If there's conflicts at home, it can trickle down into work and affect the quality, effectiveness, efficiency that they're delivering to. So we spend a third of our lives at work. Understand your people. If your employees trust the managers, if your employees trust what the ethos of the organization is, they're going to buy into it. Essentially, your employees are your biggest brand ambassadors. When they go to their social places, when they're in their home, how they speak about your brand can generate additional customer base, which means that you would generate additional sales, or you get more service users. So you need to invest in that business. Think about the last job you had. Why did you leave? Think about why you set up your business. That's your motivation, that's your bottom line. And you've got to create that culture that is going to promote your staff to even want to come to work. We spend a third of our lives at work. So we've got to make it count as business owners, and we've got to find a way to stimulate and motivate them to want to be there. Now, I've talked about employees as a people that you need to maximize, not just in terms of actually producing work, but also as brand ambassadors, but also as people who are going to sell your business to the wider community. The title was maximizing your biggest assets, and I said people and behaviors. I didn't say employees and behaviors. There are other people who are going to influence how successful your business is. There's a list of them. I'm doing a dramatic pause to see how many of you will work it out before I show the slides. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's see if you got any right in your head. Your business is influenced by a whole heap of people. Your shareholders, you as the owner, and I've talked about leaders and leadership behaviors in terms of affecting how businesses are run. Your managers will affect your business model and your business delivery. Your employees, I've talked about, your customers. Now, often we forget about the impact of our business, perhaps on the local community, other potential groups who may have a stake in that business, and government. Government, taxes, laws, sometimes there might be a law which will just throw everything into the bin. You've worked so hard and suddenly you can no longer import or export. And for some people that will affect their businesses. But actually, when you look at the local community as an asset, if you have buy-in from the local community, they are also going to be your brand ambassadors, because they see your business as providing value to them. You are employing local people. You are putting money back into their lives, into the economy. You've got big businesses who spend a significant amount of their profit on social corporate responsibilities. Now, for smaller businesses, you might think, I don't have the money. But what you have are skills and opportunities. And when your local community is on your side, you don't even need to advertise. They will come and be buying from you, be using your services, and the message will go wider. So shareholders, managers, employees, don't just focus on getting the right employee. Focus also on getting people who are going to benefit your business. What do you need to do to make sure you maximize these people? Build the right relationships. communicate with them about your vision, communicate with them about what you're trying to achieve, and communicate with them about how much value you are adding to the economy. Now, I'm going to share this video with you, and there's another group, because we are a global, we're in a global world, and due to technology, we're able to deliver businesses, not just within even the areas. I want to share this video with you so that you can see another people that you can maximize. So I will come off the screen and share this video. Bear with me. If you're not able to see the video, I will share the slides. UBA, I'm happy for you to share the slides to participants. Bear with me one moment while I get the video on for you. Okay. All right, so again, if you have any questions, please do share them in the chat. I'm happy to go through the questions and give you as much support as you need, unless you have employed your own organizational psychologist. I am a resource for you. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen so you can see this video. Bear with me. Okay.
So,
and also it means that,
yes, not yet, but we have questions coming in. We're putting them together, and when we're done with the presentations, we'll put these questions to you, so
sure.
you could ask to respond to them. But if you are putting
sure.
like we announced, please state your name and your designation or position of your organization, so we can properly identify and acknowledge you here. Yeah, and I think we're ready for the video now. So.
Okay. Would you like me to continue?
Yes, please continue with the video.
Sure. Okay. All right, I will start that video. I think some people might have missed it because I was interrupting your talking. My apologies. Okay. All right. Okay, sorry, bear with me. I've noticed that it is still playing in the background. Okay. Here we are. Can you all see that?
No, so I think you may have to stop sharing and reshare again, because I think it's gone off. We can't see the video, so.
You can't see that. Okay, I will stop sharing and then I'll start sharing.
It was on momentarily, but it went off. So if you reshare, I'm sure we'll be able to get that.
Okay, sure. Okay.
So while we wait for the questions coming in, provide your name, provide your organization, your position, so we can properly acknowledge you as you put the questions to Dr. Nkyi.
Can we see that?
Okay, yes, we can now. But I think we lost the voice this time, so please, if you could share the voice, ask us to.
Got it. Technology is wonderful, isn't it? Okay, it's wonderful. We've all had to adjust, especially over the past year, which means that again, that presents as an asset. So I'm going back to the video. And here we are. Okay. Sound okay?
Hello, my name is Natasha Fiane. I help people and small businesses like yourself grow their brand. In the short time that we have, I would like to talk to you about how you can tap into the African diaspora to maximize your business or your brand. As many of you will know, the African diaspora is a great economic constituency. On a monthly basis, millions of pounds, millions of euros, millions of US dollars are sent to African home countries by their diaspora. So that is definitely one reason why you should tap into that constituency to help your business grow. I happen to be one of the many African children that are in the diaspora, so I'd like to think I know a thing or two of what I'm talking about. So for today, we will focus on 3 key areas that your small business and brand can focus on to grow the business and tap into the African diaspora. Firstly, we'll talk about social media. Yes, social media. It is very important that your small business and your brand has a digital presence across all social media platforms. Let me say most social media platforms, mainly Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I hear some of you thinking, yeah, we already have that, and that's great. But having a social media account is the first step, but not the only one. It is important that you then intentionally use your social media accounts to maximize your presence. So the first thing is ensuring that your identity across all social media platforms is clear. If I go on your social media page, I need to know that this is the same company. So to make sure that the logo across the social media platform is the same, the description of what your business does is similar as well. What is also important is to ensure that your social media platform has a clear way that potential customers can get in touch with you. So that could be ensuring that there's a link to your website, a link to whatever platform that you use to mainly run your business. So it's important that you have that. So that is social media, 1. Number 2, it's really important to make sure that your service or your small business has the e-commerce side of the business figured out. So I'm talking about payment options, to make sure that payment options are accessible to people that are outside of your home country or outside of the country where you're operating. And I'm sure that is something that your bank
Okay, Pamela, I don't know. I think we lost the voice on the video.
Know of a particular podcast that may be popular within, people from a certain region or people from a certain country. Why not go on
Your microphone is muted, Pamela. You're still muted, Pamela.
It appears that somebody had muted me. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. Okay, so you've got a gist of another group of people that you can maximize in your business. So I've spoken quite a lot about your employees, because they are the ones that you're probably going to be having a greater interface with in terms of your actual delivery. The behaviors are significant. The behaviors are significant in that if you do not address some of the organizational misbehaviors, that is going to translate to your customers. It's going to create a customer base of, can I be bothered to go to that business? Because they say that they are open, but when we get there, staff are now brushing their hair, staff are now eating their breakfast. I have been to government organizations within Africa. We had waited for some time to get into the office, When they finally open, then they say, Madam, we're going to have our breakfast and we will come back. I do not have the time to wait for somebody to have their breakfast before they address my business needs, especially when they've advertised their opening time. It makes absolutely no sense, but we sometimes allow these small behaviors. They appear small, but they create a brand issue, but also they are stopping your business delivering its objectives. Now, I'm going to summarize right now so we can leave as much time as possible for questions from yourself. And I'm going to summarize with this. Know your people and know the behaviors that they exhibit in your business. You do not wait for your people, your employees, your local community, your stakeholders, yourself as an owner to start the business and then start to create it. You invest in it even before your business starts. You ensure that you have established the right mechanisms for your employees, for your shareholders, for your other stakeholders to operate within. You are setting clear roles and responsibilities for everyone involved in your business. They know what they're supposed to do. And that is not to create a regimented business culture, it's to allow people to thrive. If you look at, say, child development, children do better where there are clear boundaries. They know what they can do and what is not permitted. But they also thrive and learn and grow when they're given opportunities to learn and grow. You replicate that within your organizational culture. I've spoken about people turning up late, people going to their mothers, aunties, uncles, sister, cousins' wedding 2 days before the wedding so they can get their hair done. You need to have a clear and consistent performance management structure that addresses employee misbehaviors. Because if you allow one person to do it, it sends the message that everybody else can do it. But if you allow one person to do it, but you do not allow another person, what you are now creating is an us and them and a conflict building environment. You do not, as a business owner, want to be fighting with your employees. They can be very, very powerful. So please understand your people, understand the behaviors, and create the business environment in the way you want your business to be developed. And also remember, your people are contributing to your bottom line. You cannot deliver your business on your own. These people are assets to you. They are supporting you to reach the goals that you went into business to deliver. Reward them, thank them, and don't reward them with meaningless rewards. Today I'll buy everybody donuts. Yay! No. Look at what is important to your people. And do issue rewards accordingly. Issue rewards for teamwork, for job well done as a group, because what you then create is that you're reinforcing that we are a team. Don't highlight people's flaws in public. Use performance management to manage any productivity issues, any behavioral issues, but absolutely reward publicly teams and those who are going beyond the call of duty, because they are making sure you deliver your business objective. Value your people. And when I say people, again, I'm not just referring to staff, the people who contribute to your business, your funders, your business partners, the community who you are delivering the business to. There are creative ways within which you can engage your people, and there are creative ways within which you can promote the behaviors that you want. So, 3 points. Invest in your employees and your people because they cost you money. When it's not done correctly, they cost you money. When you invest in them correctly, they generate you money. Work culture is important. important, essential, critical, and you've got to nurture the behaviors that you want by your people in your business. And then you, as the business owner, you've got to create the right environment so that you can achieve the right outcomes that you set out to achieve in your business. I can't say it enough. The right environment can grow the right outcomes. So that's me for now. I will come, Dr. Dottie, I have finished my slides. So I am now ready for the questions that is going to transform people's businesses.
I take the premise becoming a doctor soon. I would subscribe to a PhD program, so I can also become a doctor. But thanks, Pamela, for that wonderful delivery. I've got a couple of questions that we'll put to you this morning. Now, first question I have for you is, how should businesses deal with overtime, where customers or staff, employees are putting in extra hours to ensure that businesses meet their targets and objectives? Would you advise that employees are compensated for overtime, or what should we do, and what would be your basis for saying what should be done?
Okay, thank you. That's a really good question. When I hear the word overtime, the first question that comes to my mind is, why are they doing overtime? Have you actually quantified effectively the job that needs to be done by your employees? Have you given them enough time to do that and the space to deliver that within your business model? Is this an expectation that people will work overtime, or is this because the volume of work you are expecting them to do in the time that your business is running, is it unrealistic? So sometimes overtime happens because of demand. If that's the case, it's absolutely right that you reward, I didn't say pay, you reward your staff for contributing to you delivering your business goals. So if you are asking your staff to do extra, you reward them for that. And in some places, that might be that they get time off in lieu of the amount of extra hours they've done. In some organizations, there is a system where they get paid a nominal fee for working beyond their prescribed time. In some organizations, they are rewarded with gifts or other incentives. But you need to, as a business leader and a business owner, if you find that there's a lot of overtime, then you need to go back to the drawing board and say, have I actually reviewed the work responsibilities? Perhaps you started off 5 days a week, 8 to 3, 8 to 2, but the business has grown. Does that mean that the demand has grown, which means I need more staff? Because the risk also to overtime is that you may get staff burnout. When you get staff burnout, it affects people's satisfaction in the workplace. People don't want to be burned out, and people don't want to come to work for you to make them sick. They come to work to offer their skills. You reward them with pay and other incentives. But if you are finding out that overtime is now becoming normal, then you need to, as a business owner, review your processes and review the roles you are asking. It might mean that you might need more staff, and it might mean that you have not realistically quantified the amount of time it takes to do stuff. So you've got to go back to the drawing board. You know, you can throw money to people. I mean, staff will always take the extra money, but then they will be exhausted because they're working too many hours.
So just a quick to that, where, how do we really determine whether the person is really putting extra hours because of the demand of the job, or that the person didn't spend enough time to deliver on the job and therefore he's having to do extra hours, and not because demands of the job? Because it's a very difficult thing to do as a leader or a business determine did my employee put in all the hours to deliver on job that he was supposed to do for a particular time frame, or he spent time doing other things, and so he's now had to do extra hours to meet up for work that he should have done when being at work.
So from what you're saying, I mentioned about in my presentation about trust and values. And also I mentioned about mechanisms. Yeah. And I also mentioned about performance management. This sounds to me that communication needs to be had. And I think we need to be, as managers, as business leaders, as business owners, we need to be very open and transparent. If you have these questions and you have an established performance management structure, you have a conversation with your employee. Let's talk about the tasks that you've signed up to do, because they've applied for the job, which means that in contract, they have agreed that they're going to do what you've asked them to do in contract. And if you do not operate with a contract, I will advise you, please start operating with employment contracts. It's protective for you and it's protective for your employees. But it also spells out, I am very transparent, I value my staff, let's have a contract in place. It's protective. So you go back to the job description, you have the conversation, and this is what your job involves. Are there any challenges as to why, say, for example, this deadline has been missed or this has not been done? There may be practical things. Even the most experienced and expert of person cannot cope with the additional demand if the business has grown or if there's unrealistic additional work. We have employees, not robots. So we need to go back to the job description and we need to go back and have a conversation, because that question sounds like there is either a mistrust issue, are they actually doing the job? But if you have a regular meeting with your staff, you will know, because they will update you. And don't wait for staff to come and update you. You have in their diaries blocked out, whether it's weekly, monthly, fortnightly, depending on the nature of your job. You have that established and there will be regular communication. It's not 6 months down the line and then you find out that the shoe that they were supposed to produce, they've only done the right one, they haven't done the left one, so they can't send it to a customer. Regular supervision, regular line management, and an effective performance management culture means that you won't have to have that conversation 6 months. You know before it becomes a problem.
Okay. Thank you, Pamela, for that. So my MD usually would say, don't expect what you don't expect. So I can't agree with you in that. I mean, if you don't expect the work being done, you don't expect a good output. Now, talking about communication, there's a question that says, please talk about team collaboration, where employees do constructive handover notes. So if there's a deadline, for instance, on a Friday and they are not in the office, another team member can pick up the job and execute to meet deadline and customer or client needs. What would be your views on collaboration and handing over notes?
What collaboration tells me is that there is an open organizational culture. That means that everybody knows what everybody's doing. It means that a manager has a handle on who's available to deliver what aspects of the business. So collaboration is important because it allows a team and organization to work as a unit rather than disjointed. Production does this, sales does this, and sales doesn't know what production is doing. Production, well, we've done it, it's up to sales to do whatever. But when sales communicate with production, sales is saying, we've done really well in this product. That message goes to production to say, oh, actually, maybe we need to produce more of it. And then sales will get the information, we've got more products. So collaboration means that you understand what you are delivering. It all, again, goes back to the environment the owners, the managers has created. Because without those structures, staff can sometimes be very isolated in the way they deliver. I know my job. Whether Kwame or Ade or Olu is doing me, I don't know. You told me this is my job, I don't know. So you embed within your culture an ethos of collaboration. So everybody is aware of what they're doing. How can you do that? You have, I know people often dislike the idea of having team buildings and away days. It becomes a rolling of the eye or not again. Make it a valuable experience so people understand the chain of events in an organization. So if somebody is out for annual leave or sickness absence or whatever, because life happens, everybody knows the role that person's supposed to play, and somebody can play that role. So collaboration sounds to me that it's not something extra that we do. It should be within the business model, so everybody knows what everybody does. And then it doesn't become a surprise if one person doesn't turn up, then the whole business has collapsed. A business cannot run on one person. It needs other people almost to be on standby should any eventuality happen.
Thank you very much. The other question I have for you is, so you've spoken extremely well about employers or businesses supporting employees in order to deliver at their best. But if employees or these employees how should businesses manage some employees if they take the support they are given for granted?
Unfortunately, we're in a world where there are people who are just out to get what they want. They will give you a wonderful interview. They will arrive wonderfully. And then as time goes by, they start doing their own thing or doing nothing at all. And again, I bring you back to performance management. As your MD says, what was that? Fail to inspect and
don't expect what you don't inspect.
Don't expect what you don't inspect. So if there is an employee who is essentially just taking your money and not contributing to the bottom line, to the business delivery, you have a formal performance management structure. I can't emphasize enough. And I think for a lot of micro, small, medium enterprises, sometimes they may have started by recruiting friends and family members and people they know, because that's the only people that were available to them. So then it becomes difficult to have a conversation with that person who might be your auntie or your mom's best friend from school, or your dad's goat herder's daughter who helped your dad when he was sick. It then becomes difficult to have those conversations. But if there was a performance management structure articulated clearly that this is the job that we are doing, or I'm expecting you to do, this is how it's to be delivered, you refer people back to it. When things are written down on paper, it's no longer a surprise. You signed up to it. And as business leaders, we've got to develop effective business behaviors. The success of our business lies right at the apex, right at the top. So if you're going to allow certain behaviors to lapse or be allowed, it's going to affect delivery. So again, I feel like we should have called this manage the culture and put performance management. That it's almost like a safety net for business owners. You've got to establish those systems, because that's what you are allowing your employees and your people to perform within a prescribed set of rules. Otherwise, it's quite risky, isn't it? You allow people to just do what they like, and then all that investment is gone down to waste. And there are many small businesses that fold, not because they are not offering a good service, it's just because they haven't managed their business model well enough or their people well enough. You've got to create those boundaries. And you don't go into business for people to like you, you go into the business to meet your business objective. And if people like you, great, but you've got to stick to your business objective.
Okay, The next question I have is ask about trainings to weekend.
Sorry, I missed that bit. Sorry.
Okay, so the question is, this is asking, I would like to talk about trainings to weekends that are usually 4 to 5 hours.
Scheduling training over weekends, you mean?
Yes.
Okay. Again, is it acceptable by your staff, or because you're the business owner, so on Sundays you've thought of something, so the people have to come because you thought of it and it's important to your life that they come? Are you valuing that your staff also have a life and have other commitments beyond your business? People have other commitments, and if your staff are happy to attend weekend, great. But you've got to give them notice. Don't just call them, last minute. Oh yes, we are having retreat next week. You don't know what else is happening in your employee's life. Calendar it well in advance and give people the chance to be there. Now, the reason I say give people the chance to be there is because if you schedule certain activities at a time where some employees are not going to be available, you are alienating some of your employees. So I'll give you an example. There was once an organization that I was delivering training for, and I'd organized this wonderful training the previous year, fantastic. The following year, I started to have issue with attendance. And then I thought, what's happening? It's the same level of training. People love it. Why are they not turning up? And then somebody mentioned, it's because it's Ramadan. So I had put the training around the time where people are supposed to be observing prayers. I hadn't been intelligent or been religiously aware that there are other factors that will affect people's attendance on that particular date, because the Islamic calendar changes. So Ramadan will not be a fixed day. So people could not attend, not because they didn't want to, it's because they had other religious obligations. So as a business owner, don't just put things on because it suits you. Think about the outcome you want to achieve and make it useful, make it necessary that as many staff as possible can attend, not because of force, but because it fits in well with everybody else's calendar. When you start to put meetings and the same people turn up and the other people don't, you've segregated your business. You've created a clique and you've outlawed some people, and then you've got the regular attenders. You're not creating a joint culture. So be aware of the other, I mentioned about the personal life and the personal responsibilities that people have. As a business leader, you've got to be quite astute about how you manage the behaviors and know your people. If I'd known my people I was training, I would have known not to put meeting at a time of Ramadan when people are going for prayers. They just weren't going to turn up. So again, it depends on the business and the people you've employed.
All right, thanks, Pamela. You spoke about investing in your employees to give you their best or give their best. What's the role of employee engagement as part of investment to ensure that staff will be motivated or driven to deliver value to the business?
Again, are you really engaging them? So there's tokenistic engagement where you're almost telling them, but you are, you think you're engaging, but you're just telling them what's about to happen. Because you've already, as a business owner or manager, you've already decided, but you're just engaging them. Essentially, it's like, oh, but we told you about it. That's not engagement, that's informing, or that's directing. So there is, in terms of creating a valued organization environment where you engage your staff and support them to help you make decisions, because essentially they are probably closer to your customer base than you are. They hear what's happening, they hear the feedback, but if you do not the word engage has been used so many times that sometimes we've lost the actual essence of it. It's about soliciting their views. It's about soliciting their expertise. You employ those people because you know that they are able to deliver your business objective. Have them give you information on what's going to improve your model. So UBA, for example, big financial institution, you've got your customer base, but how do we grow our customer base? Speak to your cashiers. What are the complaints that cashiers are coming up, your customers are coming up with? Are the processes too onerous, too long? Engaging means that you are valuing what your staff are going to tell you, rather than you've decided and then you are telling them, and then, oh, what is your view? Do you want your staff to come to your managing director, CEO, to say, oh, sir, that one is not a good idea? They won't tell you because they need to pay their children's school fees. They will say, oh, yes. And then when they go home, then they will insult the manager. What do they know? They don't know nothing. You have not allowed them to share with you their expertise. You are telling them. So absolutely, I'm absolutely in favor of engagement if it's engagement in its true sense, rather than just telling them in the name of tokenistic engagement.
Okay, beautiful. So, Yvonne, the other question, sorry, Pamela, the other questions to do with, you spoke about spending a third of our lives at work, and you also spoke about presenteeism and absenteeism. I want to ask you a question personally on where you have employees that come in with a lot of medical leave, and they are unavailable half the time due to medical. How do you manage or deal with such employees, and how do you get or maximize or get the best out of such employees?
Okay, so irrespective of health status, irrespective of whether diagnosed disability, mental health condition, whatever it is, everybody has got something to offer to society. And the fact that they are your employee means that during the recruitment process, you went through a rigorous process and identified that actually this person has got a skill or an asset that will maximize, that I can maximize for my business. So you judge that by employing them. Now, if you knew in advance that there was a medical condition or some life circumstance that would affect their delivery of your business objective, you will then, as a wise business owner, put in mechanisms to maximize when they are going to be there. And so, life happens and people's life change, and there are circumstances that means that, sometimes things happen unplanned. We learned from the pandemic how quickly life can change. And as business owners, it's about being sensitive to the needs of our employees, but it's also about being fair to other employees that may be affected. So it's looking, and again, it's about having conversations with the employee that's been affected by this and say, I understand that you've got this. How can we, review the work you are doing? And sometimes people have to be off sick for a long time because of a medical condition. And then as a business, you need to think, how do we sustain the part that they're supposed to have delivered? And what you don't want to do is essentially discriminate people for conditions that they have no control over. You can't say suddenly, I can't keep you on the job anymore because you're at the hospital so much, so you're wasting me, you're wasting my time and money. You cannot discriminate for somebody who cannot control that. So again, it's about being sensitive and having clear policies in place on sickness absences. And I think for big businesses, they have the resources to be able to manage it well. They may have an occupational health department that can either pre-screen people conditions so they can have a plan in place. But for the micro, small, and sometimes the medium enterprises, they do not have often the benefit of having an occupational health department. So then sometimes they will say, well, the person can't come to work. Next, we'll get the right employee. But actually, if you can support that person to be in work, they become very loyal workers. And the brand is strengthened. The reputation of the organization is strengthened. So have a policy in place. How are we going to manage this if it happens? I know some organizations even have a women's health policy because there are certain health and monthly situations that affects women's ability to perform during certain times of the month. And you're smiling, you're like, yes, I have female workers and I know what that means. And it's real. As a female in business, I assure you it's real. But I think as businesses, we've got to go into a business realistic about our business objective, but also realistic that people have lives and life happens and we've got to adapt. But we also don't, want to compromise the safety and the quality of our delivery. So have policies in place. And if you don't have, as a small, medium, micro organization, you don't have that facility, reach out to, bigger businesses who might be able to even offer you that support or advice. There are organizations out there who are happy to mentor smaller organizations. You've got this business series that UBA is offering. And again, reach out to your banking system, reach out to presenters. There's a wealth of information out there online on how you can support your staff health and well-being and get the best out of your staff. But do not sack somebody for a condition that they have no control over. For me, that does not sound like an ethical delivery of business.
There's a Ghanaian proverb that says that as the game is getting sweeter, then night begins to fall. So as we're beginning to enjoy the conversation and the discussions, time is running up on us. I'll box the last two questions together because I think they are related. Tess asks, do you believe work incentives can actually change the mindset and behavior of an employee who doesn't love his job? But linked to that, also an anonymous question that came, he didn't identify himself or herself. How do you make your employees feel a part of the organization rather than viewing the job as a source of income? So would incentives change the mindsets of employees and their behaviors? And how you make employees feel a part of the business and not just a source of income?
Okay, so I like to ask questions, and hearing that, the first question I ask is, as you, a human being, where would you rather work? There are these big giant organizations that everybody is flocking to because of the culture. Now, there are some organizations I've worked for that we even struggle to get tissue paper to wipe our hands. And then I went to a meeting in another organization, and during the break time, I wasn't employed by them. I had just gone to their premises for a meeting. During the break time, they showed us the tea and coffee and hot chocolate making facility. And I thought, they have tea facility. Where I come from, we don't even have tissue to wipe our hands. We stood there at the break time, some of my colleagues who had not enjoyed such, we stood there and maximized the teas and the coffees and the hot chocolate and the biscuits. So incentives absolutely helps, okay? You create an environment that people want to be in, they will be there. And, again, we spend a third of our life. Sometimes we spend more time with the people we work with than our own families, because we spend a significant amount of time in the actual workplace. So incentive work by motivating people. And sometimes it's not just about the money. It's not just, I have worked for organizations where there were times I was working about 10 to 12 hours a day for half of money that another organization would give me. And I was happy because I was using my brain and creativity. So we've got to, again, know our people and know what incentives work for them. One, incentives may not reach all, so think creatively about how you reward. I know some people like recognition, so something as simple as Employee of the Month, or having an award scheme where you publicly reward your staff can be very motivating. That has not cost you giving that person money, but recognizing what they add to your business. Sometimes it might be that, you give bonuses because they've been able to reach demand. So you're creating it's almost like your organization is a fair society. I am working my backside off for my business. They are making all this profit. Nobody sees it. You're paying your staff literally pittance and they can't live on it, but your profit margin is so huge. Incentives can, again, your staff are your brand ambassadors. You're not paying them well, they will tell people about it. You're paying them well, they may not tell people about it, but they will promote your business. Oh, you must come here. Otherwise, it's don't go here. They don't even value their staff. We've been working all this time. Look, the MD is driving Jaguar. Me, I can't even get money for Trotro. So incentives are huge. They're huge. Think about I'm not going to name drop, but think about those big global corporations. Think about even the way they set up their offices. You've got these sofas, you've got tea making facilities that people can enjoy. It's nice to come to those environments. So create that for your own employees. Every free tea matters. It matters a lot.
Thank you, Pamela. Everything matters, and we're grateful for having you join us today for the session. We'd like to thank all our audience that joined us from across the globe. I have seen audiences from all parts of Africa. Thank you so much for being on this today. And you've been listening to Dr. Pamela Nkyi. Dr. Nkyi is a chartered psychologist and associate of the British Psychological Society, and she is the director of Pensis. What's that? What's that?
So, Pensis Psychological Services.
And draws from over 2 decades of senior leadership to develop and manage effective change programs and interventions. Over her work, she's been working on professional development, training and development, research and evaluation, and strategic development and implementation that helps to transform organizations and their employees. And so I'd like to thank you so much for being with us this morning. It's been a pleasure to have you. And we look forward to engaging with you more. And so thanks to you all for joining the business session. Watch this space. There's still more to come on the UBA business sessions, and we'll see you on the other side.